In the small hours of a winter night in northern Austria, a shy and secretive creature is on the prowl. Its slender shape merges with the shadows in the moonlight. The creature is drawn to the water. On land, it seeks cover in the undergrowth. Only its tracks give it away. Tracks in the snow and sand along the banks of lakes, rivers and ponds. This is the otter's trail. The otter is a shy, nocturnal hunter, and water is its element. Its streamlined body and powerful tail make it an elegant diver. Its watery hunt has only just begun. Below the surface, there's plenty more food available. Carp in their winter stupor are easy prey for an otter. The fish don't stand a chance. A feast like this is hard to resist. Pond owners tell horror stories in which an otter's visit to a pond ends in wholesale slaughter. As many as 30 fish have been found strewn across the ice, almost undamaged, but dead. Commercial fish ponds are densely stocked. Especially in winter when the fish are sluggish, a young otter may go berserk, like a fox in a chicken coop, and kill far more than he can eat. By the late 70s, the otter was Europe's rarest mammal, and practically extinct in many countries. But today, the otter is reconquering old territories. Around Central European waters, it's once more making tracks. However, a conservationist's triumph may be a fisherman's nightmare. In northern Austria, otters have raided almost every fish pond. The otter is still protected, but there are rumours of traps set once more around some fish ponds, just as they were a century ago. At that time, the hated fish thief was mercilessly persecuted by pond owners and fur trappers alike. One man in particular, a village blacksmith, made headlines as an otter hunter. Within a few years, he killed scores of animals, and was celebrated as a popular hero in local and national papers. These were the tools of his trade. And this was his message. Otters will continue their raids on fish ponds until no living thing remains in the water. It is the duty of every fisherman to track this enemy down wherever he may appear. He must be hunted and utterly destroyed. Otters will leave their scent marks in a particular spot to which they return again and again. It seems that at these places the otter's usual caution is relaxed, so this is where the trap should be placed for a successful catch. Ruthlessly, the otter was persecuted to the brink of extinction. Further east, beyond the former Iron Curtain, otters fared much better. The vast and numerous ponds in today's Czech Republic, for instance, just across the border from Austria, were never densely stocked with fish. Deep reed belts still offer plenty of hiding places, and in the natural waters, otters find a rich variety of food. The communist economy helped the otter population to spread without much disturbance. No one worried about otters raiding government fish ponds. In the canals connecting the ponds, herons, otters and other fish eaters often share the same hunting ground. There's enough food for everyone. Coexistence with the otter has become a fact of life here, but this may change. A growing market economy in former Eastern Bloc countries is pushing wildlife into competition with commercial fishermen. So far, the sheer size of these ponds has kept the competition for fish within limits. The prime object of the fisherman's wrath is not the otter or the heron, but large colonies of birds which cause great natural losses. Spring is the mating season for cormorants. They gather in sociable breeding colonies on the lakes and ponds of southern Czechoslovakia. Cormorants are beginning to be regarded as vermin. Some have already chosen their partners. Tirelessly, the males gather sticks from the water to build a nest. They usually occupy the nest before the female and set about attracting a partner. The birds are uneasy. They can sense danger in the air. Nervously, the cormorants decide to fly to safety. The white-tailed eagle is another threatened species, with only a few islands of refuge in Central Europe. One such refuge for endangered species is the nature reserve of Somogy in southwestern Hungary. A private conservation association has bought dozens of fish ponds that are now rarely used and offer good habitat for endangered species. The deep canals between the ponds suit the secretive lifestyle of otters. Here they can hide and find a great variety of food, not just fish, but also clams, crayfish, small mammals and amphibians. This young male is a little more than 1 year old. He has just left his mother. As he grows to independence, strange new encounters arouse his curiosity. The cub takes courage and decides to have a closer look. But it takes two to play. At least he has learned one thing. The direct approach is not always the best. A scent mark tells him that he is not the only otter around. This is Hungary at its romantic best, a steppe landscape with a herd of grey longhorns. With pastures so near the fish ponds, the young otter is bound to make new acquaintances. However, the cattle are less than welcoming. They keep him on the move. Otters feel much more at home around secluded wild ponds like this. They're wetland creatures, preferring to travel along the banks of ponds and canals. These undisturbed, watery forests invite young otters to explore. There is little danger here, and they can take their time searching for food. And there's plenty of food. The youngster can choose from a rich menu of frogs, leeches and insect larvae. Spring has turned the swamps into a flowering paradise. These ponds and forests are part of a green corridor, a string of interconnected nature reserves spreading throughout southwestern Hungary. This green oasis already covers an area of 80 square miles and is to be extended even further. It's a jungle right in the heart of Europe. A dense green canopy covers the canal, an ideal habitat for otters. Even crayfish can flourish here, and they need really clean water to survive. They hide in cavities along the banks and feed on aquatic animals and plants. Water pollution has seriously reduced crayfish in most European rivers, if not eliminated them. A crayfish makes a delicious meal, but not an easy one. Tackling a crayfish is risky. They can be up to 8 inches long, and they have powerful pincers. Crayfish meat is very tender, but tough to get at. Driven more by curiosity than by hunger, the otter plays with his prey like a cat with a mouse. Once it's on dry land, its chances of escape are nil. Now the otter's needle-sharp teeth go to work. Otters don't use their food very efficiently. Their 36 teeth tear up the meat, but they can't chew it. The otter swallows large chunks, and much of what he eats passes through his body undigested. Yet otters are not wasteful. Even large pieces of crayfish shell are eaten and later excreted. After his meal, the otter checks the area and vanishes into the undergrowth. At the pond, frogs and toads are giving a concert. The pond is surrounded by tall reeds, a perfect hiding place for the little bittern, the smallest member of the heron family. It's the male's turn to guard the nest. His camouflaged plumage makes him practically invisible from above. But the large bird overhead is not a hawk, but a harmless rarity, a black stork. Freshwater turtles enjoy the afternoon sun. Ferruginous ducks breed on the reed-lined lakes alongside great white egrets. Both are only occasional visitors to Central Europe. Spoonbills, too, have found one of their last refuges here. Rare species often have one thing in common: their need of very specialized habitats. The water must be unpolluted and should have natural banks. There are very few such places unspoiled by man. Holes in the banks are useful to many species. Here the otter has found a peaceful retreat. Otters sleep for much of the day in holes or hidden in the undergrowth. Usually a heap of branches or roots is sufficient shelter for them to feel secure. Although otters prefer the hours of darkness, they don't completely shun the daylight. In the water, otters are agile and swift, with great stamina. They can dive to 15 feet or more, and in extreme cases remain underwater for up to 8 minutes. The water pressure squeezes tiny air bubbles out of the otter's dense fur. Every square inch of skin is covered by 300,000 hairs, perfect protection against damp and cold. When the young bitterns hatch, it's late spring. They leave the nest after only 5 or 6 days, but don't yet venture far away. At this age, they show little sign of their future elegance. As the sun sinks low in the late afternoon, the first creatures of dusk leave their hiding places. During the hot weather, wild pigs are abroad mainly in the cool hours of morning or evening. A sow has gathered her young in the shade of the trees. They're digging for roots, mice and insect larvae. Just before sunset, another nocturnal creature has left its den. The badger, like the otter, is a member of the weasel family. He, too, is asleep for most of the day. Now it's time for a drink at the canal. In his own familiar territory, the badger feels safe. An intruder is an unpleasant surprise. The badger won't stand any nonsense. Being young and inexperienced, the otter underestimates his opponent, who is twice his own weight. The two distant cousins eye each other suspiciously. Enough is enough. Once and for all, the badger makes it clear whose territory this is. When the forest has swallowed the last of the evening light, the creatures of darkness come to life. The moonlit night is the time of the otter. It's not uncommon for them to travel 20 miles in one night. In their vast territories, they alternate between several hiding places. Was that a movement in the dark? The young male has caught a whiff of an exciting scent. A female has marked the area. Following the scent, the male glides into the water. In a gentle embrace, the pair roll in the water for several minutes. With his teeth, the male has a tight grip on the female's neck. For the next few days, the pair will repeat this mating dance many times. At Little Lake Balaton, at the northern end of the Green Corridor, the sun spreads vivid colours over the water. It's the height of summer. The lake is a jewel among Hungary's nature reserves. The swamps of Little Lake Balaton have been protected for almost half a century. The plant and animal life preserved here is unequalled anywhere in Central Europe. From a bird's eye view, this looks like Africa. For many decades, the core of the national park was forbidden territory, reserved for sport hunting by high-ranking communist officials. In 1997, the area was declared a national park. For the young cormorants, serious flight training has begun. Landing is still a bit of a problem. The young birds keep returning to their nests, where their parents are still happy to feed them, even though sometimes the youngsters seem a bit wasteful. As any pilot will tell you, the hardest part of flying is landing. In summer, a sea of orchids and other flowers turns the meadows around Little Lake Balaton into a colourful, expressionist painting. At noon, the swamps brood under the summer sun. There's no reason for an otter to leave his cool forest retreat. Here he will doze for hours until evening falls. As well as the swamps, the new national park also includes a vast area of ancient fish ponds connected to the lake by canals. For several years, they have been only partially used. All in all, this protected paradise covers some 60 square miles. Between the ancient trees, a carpet woven from myriads of tiny blossoms spreads across the summer lakes. These are the flowers of the bladderwort, an insectivorous plant. At the tips of the leaves, there are tiny lentil-shaped bladders, traps for water fleas. The trapping mechanism is triggered on contact. The bladder opens for a fraction of a second and sucks in water together with the flea. A water flea is entangled among the filaments of the bladderwort, but it escapes. This one is caught for good. These stagnant waters are the home of the mud minnow, a small relative of the pike. It hunts insects and other small invertebrates. It can survive the dry season hidden deep in the mud. It can even breathe air. Local people call it the dogfish because of its way of paddling with its pectoral fins, rather like a swimming dog. The air above the ponds is dominated by dragonflies. 38 different species are found here, from flat-bodied chasers to scarlet darters and blue and green damselflies. For all of them, the mating season has just begun. With their abdomens curved and connected, a male and female azure damselfly form what's known as the mating wheel. After mating, several pairs form a chain. While the female lays her eggs, the male keeps hold of her. In all this spectacular parade, none of the dragonflies can match the most dazzling of all, the emperor dragonfly, Europe's largest species. Before laying her eggs, the female separates from the male and climbs down a reed. Underwater, she injects the eggs one by one into the outer skin of the plant. The steep sandy banks have also come alive with breeding activity. Bee-eaters have gathered in a colony and dug their nesting tunnels. These iridescent relatives of the kingfisher hunt for large insects, wasps, honeybees, bumblebees, and dragonflies. The colony is as busy as an international airport. Tirelessly, the parents fly in with food. Each pair has to feed about 5 young. They will first leave their tunnel 4 weeks after hatching. Sand martins, too, are regulars around the ponds. The banks are undermined by tunnels of all kinds. Even larger animals can find a retreat here. A female otter has moved in with her young. The baby is only a few days old. It's still blind and helpless and needs its mother's full attention. While she suckles her baby, the mother grooms its fur. Otters are very particular and clean in their dens, known as holts. The mother will bring in more fresh grass in a few days, but now she leaves the holt as seldom as possible. This gives other creatures a welcome break. Otters can be formidable opponents. Muskrats, for instance, have good reason to fear the otter. They share the same habitat and they often fall prey to otters or have to give up their dens to them. Like otters, muskrats are excellent swimmers and divers. They were introduced from America around the turn of the century. From only a few pairs, a huge population has developed. Since muskrats incessantly undermine dams, they're regarded as a potential danger and persecuted in many countries by special hunters. One reason they were able to spread so rapidly is probably the decline of their natural enemies. As a rule, muskrats are rare where otters are common. In the late afternoon, the reed beds come alive once more. Waterfowl try to catch as many fish as possible before nightfall. For the first time in 3 decades, a pelican is sunbathing once more in Central Europe. 232 bird species have been recorded at Little Lake Balaton, 100 of which are on the red list of endangered species. 18 endangered species breed on the ponds, and 11 more pass through regularly. Not only endangered animals thrive in this paradise, unpopular pests of human cultivation also feel at home. They're voles. Wherever man tills the ground, they find food. In Central Europe, the tundra or root vole is a rarity, while the common vole has become a plague. Originally at home in Eastern Europe and Asia, the Central European populations are probably relics of the Ice Age. They love swampy, densely overgrown places. But in this environment, they are often not alone. The vole escapes into a hollow tree. It's faster than the otter, but the otter can easily follow its scent. Once again, the vole is lucky. Baffled, the otter loses interest. In the undergrowth, the mouse is recovering from the shock. Morning mist lies heavy on the late summer swamps. The ponds are still quiet. The starlings are the first to awake. Enormous flocks rise from the reeds. On such foggy mornings, it's easy to imagine how otters secretly cross the border and move west into Austria. In the southeast of Austria, many rivers that flow across former Eastern Bloc borders offer access routes for otters. From Slovenia and Hungary, they're gradually returning to places where they had been extinct for more than a century. Styria, the greenest of the Austrian provinces, with its gentle hills and many natural creeks, is an inviting destination. The original habitat of Austria's otters even included alpine valleys, but they were hunted practically to extinction during the 19th century. Now they're returning. Only sporadically so far, but they are coming back. The otters in southeastern Austria are part of a large population that spreads across Hungary and Slovenia as well. This southern Central European population is cut off from the expanding population north of the Danube. So far, the two areas have not joined up, although otters have been known to cross rivers as large as the Danube. Their most dangerous enemy is the car. Otters are rarely seen except as roadkills, but at least that is evidence that they are about. In northern Austria, north of the river Danube, the otter population has been on the rise since the early 80s. However, they quickly wore out their welcome. Commercial fish ponds have very little in common with their natural habitat, especially in their abundance of prey. Who can blame an otter for helping himself when the table is set so generously? But it's not only the otter that helps itself to commercial fish. The American mink has also settled here. Mink have been bred in Europe for their valuable skins since World War I. Many have escaped from mink farms. Like the otter, the mink belongs to the weasel family, and it has much in common with its European relative. Both prefer to live along rivers and by lakes with dense waterside vegetation. Like the otter, the mink hunts small rodents, crayfish, frogs and fish. And it is just as unpopular with pond owners. The otter has picked up the mink's scent. His scream reveals his insecurity. Should he attack or beat a retreat? The mink shows little fear. It's still not clear who will back down first. The mink is less than half the otter's size. It's well advised to run for it. Hungry otters are said sometimes to prey on mink. The mink retreats into the undergrowth. The otter does not pursue his rival. Generally, they leave each other alone. There is still enough space for all, although otters have already begun to multiply in their new territory. After a 2-month pregnancy, the female has given birth to a baby. Tenderly, she grooms the tiny creature, which will need her care and attention for as long as a year. The umbilical cord is broken. There's another baby in the holt. It has slept through the birth of its brother or sister. Now it demands the mother's attention. Right beside the holt, the fish harvest has begun on a foggy morning. The men drag the nets through the pond, driving the fish into them by rhythmic beating. The fish are sorted by size and weight. The moment of truth comes when the fish are counted. How many will be missing? The chance is too good to miss. And with luck, what has been overlooked by the fishermen will not be missed. When the young are 2 to 3 months old, they begin to leave the holt. Impatiently, they wait for their mother's return. But the mother remains hidden in order to eat undisturbed. Every day she must consume at least 1/10 of her body weight so that she can suckle her young. An otter eats an average of 2 pounds a day. Although fish is its favourite food, it also hunts other animals that are less popular among humans. The return of the otter can bring advantages for all. Otters reduce the numbers of voles that cause such damage to harvests, and they hunt the destructive muskrat. Perhaps we should be glad that an endangered species has returned, even though there may be a price to pay. The otter is about to return to its former home. It and its habitat need protection. Otherwise, we risk losing the otter's trail again, as we did once before.